All right, so have you ever had those unwanted guests? You know the ones. With way too many legs.
You mean centipedes.
Bingo. Those guys. And today we're going deep on centipedes. We're diving into the Nature Pest DIY Pest Control Podcast episode all about them.
Sounds creepy crawly.
Yeah, well, we're going to figure out why they think our homes are like the perfect centipede hangout spot.
All right, so we're not just going to learn about them, we're going to learn how to get rid of them.
You got it. And get this, something as harmless as an earthworm can actually attract them.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah, weird, right? So they're not just randomly showing up.
It is kind of strange when you think about it. There must be a reason.
That's what that podcast episode is all about. Centipedes are basically looking for the same stuff we are.
Food, shelter, warmth.
Exactly. Makes them sound almost human, doesn't it?
Well, minus all those legs.
Uh-huh. Yeah, good point. But seriously, it's like we're accidentally running a centipede open house.
With all the amenities. Oh yeah, they've got the all-inclusive packaged food, comfy, climate-controlled rooms. What more could a centipede ask for?
So, like, understanding why they're there is the key to getting rid of them.
That's what the podcast is saying. It's not about just squishing bugs. It's about understanding the whole ecosystem thing, you know?
Right, like how we might be throwing things out of whack without even realizing it.
Right. And one thing they really stressed is moisture.
Moisture. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I'm not just talking about a flooded basement, although that's definitely on the list.
Sure.
But even like a leaky pipe under the sink, that's prime real estate for a centipede.
So basically, we're making our homes super inviting without even trying.
Yeah, totally. I never thought about it like that. Even that little puddle under my plants after I water them could be a centipede spa.
Huh. A spa for creepy crawlies. Who knew?
You know, now I'm going to be checking under there with a flashlight. Haha.
Probably a good idea. Better safe than sorry.
But it's true. We do all these little things that make our homes perfect for them.
Okay, so moisture. What else?
Well, the podcast also talked about those tiny cracks and gaps in our houses, you know, around the foundation and stuff.
Oh, like the ones you see in those home improvement shows. Where they're like, seal up those cracks.
Yep, that's it. We barely even notice them, but for a centipede, it's like an open door. Literally.
So, like, we got to think of our house as a fortress. Under attack.
Exactly. And these guys are masters at finding the weak spots, like a giant enter here sign.
Ugh, I hate to think about it.
I know, right? And then once they're in, it's like Buffy time.
Wait, they talked about what they eat?
Oh, yeah. The podcast went into detail. Their menu is kind of extensive.
You're making me nervous.
Well, let's just say they're not picky eaters. Roaches, silverfish, even other spiders.
Okay, I'm kind of okay with them taking care of spiders, to be honest.
Haha, I get that.
But yeah, roaches, no thanks.
And that's the big takeaway, really. If you've got other bugs, you're going to get centipedes.
So it's like, dealing with those other pests is the first step.
Exactly. Take away the food source. No more centipede parties.
Makes sense. No food, no centipedes.
Exactly. So maybe I should just leave those spiders alone for now.
Haha, could be a strategy. Although I'm not sure how happy your housemates would be about that.
True, true. But it's interesting how everything's connected, right?
It really is. And speaking of connections, that whole moisture thing is a biggie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not just that they like it, it's vital for them.
Like life or death vital.
Exactly. They were saying how their exoskeletons can't hold moisture very well.
Right. I remember that from the podcast. So a dry house is like kryptonite.
You got it.
Interesting.
So controlling the humidity is a huge part of keeping them away.
Dehumidifiers, fixing those leaks.
Yep. All that good stuff. It all makes a difference.
So basically make their environment as unwelcome as possible.
Exactly. No moisture, no food, no entry point.
They'll have to pack their bags and find a new Airbnb.
Exactly. Now you're getting it.
I'm learning so much.
And we've only just begun.
So we've got leaky pipes, we've got cracks and gaps, like we're rolling out the red carpet for these guys. It's a
centipede paradise.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, once they're inside, they're basically invincible, right?
Well, not invincible exactly, but they do have a bit of an advantage.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean?
The podcast talked about how inside our homes, they don't have any natural predators.
Oh, right, like birds and stuff.
Exactly. Outside, they've got all sorts of things after them. Birds, snakes, even other bigger centipedes.
Wow, so it's like we've created this safe haven for them.
Pretty much. No predators, plenty of food. It's a centipede dream come true.
No wonder they're moving in. Okay, so we're making it easy for them to get in. We're giving them a place to hide. What can we do to fight back?
Don't worry, the podcast gave us some good weapons.
Oh, good, because I'm ready to wage war.
Well, maybe not war,
Mhm.
but definitely some strategic defense.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Strategic defense. Lay it on me.
First up, they mentioned good old-fashioned cleaning and decluttering.
Ugh, my least favorite. But if it'll get rid of centipedes.
Think of it this way. Less clutter, fewer hiding spots for those creepy crawlies.
All right, you've convinced me. Time to tackle that junk drawer. What else?
Well, remember how we talked about them needing moisture?
Yeah.
The opposite is also true. They hate dryness.
So a dehumidifier is our best friend.
Exactly. And fixing those leaks, of course. But they also mentioned natural repellents.
Like what?
Stuff like peppermint oil.
Peppermint oil. I use that for headaches.
Apparently, centipedes can't stand the smell.
Huh. Who knew?
They also talked about this stuff called diatomaceous earth.
Diatoma what now?
Diatomaceous earth. It's basically a powder made from fossilized algae.
Okay.
It's harmless to humans, but it dehydrates insects, like centipedes. It's like tiny shards of glass to them.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's pretty effective. They also mentioned it can be used for ants and other bugs, too.
So it's like a multi-purpose pest weapon. I'm going to have to get some of that. Diatomaceous earth. I can't even pronounce it, but I want it.
Uh-huh. You'll get the hang of it. They talked about using it around entry points, in cracks, that sort of thing.
Okay, so we're sealing up the cracks, we're drying things out, we're using peppermint oil and this diatomaceous earth stuff.
Sounds like a good plan so far.
What about if those natural methods don't work?
Well, they did mention insecticides.
These big guns.
Yeah, but they emphasized using them carefully.
Yeah.
Especially if you have pets or kids.
Right, always got to be careful with that stuff. Safety first.
Exactly. But yeah, if you've got a really bad infestation, sometimes that's the only way to go.
Okay, so we've got our prevention strategies, but now I'm curious about something.
What's that?
The podcast said that centipedes can actually be beneficial.
Yeah, no, it sounds weird, right?
Like, how can something that creepy be helpful?
Well, remember how we were talking about them eating other bugs?
Yeah.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
They help keep those other pest populations down.
So they're like tiny exterminators.
Pretty much.
Huh. I never thought of it that way. So maybe we shouldn't be so quick to kill them all.
It's definitely something to think about.
Like, maybe we could, I don't know, work with them.
Coexist.
Yeah. Like designate certain areas where they're allowed, and in return, they keep the other bugs away.
That's an interesting idea.
I mean, it wouldn't work everywhere, obviously, but maybe in some situations.
I think it's worth exploring. It would definitely challenge our usual kill it with fire response.
Haha. Yeah, good point. So we've got prevention, and now we've got this coexistence idea. But what if things are already bad? Like, what if we've got a full-blown centipede invasion happening right now?
Don't worry, the podcast had some tips for that, too.
Oh, good.
Remember those sticky traps?
The ones you get at the hardware store.
Yep, those are great for catching centipedes. Just put them in areas where you've seen them.
Like along baseboards and stuff?
Exactly. And they mentioned that diatomaceous earth again, sprinkling it around.
Okay, so sticky traps and diatomaceous earth.
And they also talked about using essential oils, like peppermint oil, as a barrier. Like put a few drops around doorways and windows.
So it's like a force field they can't cross.
Pretty much. And I think they mentioned boric acid and salt, too, as repellents.
Boric acid, I've heard of that. Isn't that what they use for ants?
Yep, I think so. But again, always be careful with that stuff, especially if he has pets or kids around.
Right. Definitely don't want any accidents.
And of course, if all else fails, there's always the option of calling in the professionals.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to bring in the big guns.
Exactly. But hopefully, with all these tips, you won't have to.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have. From those creepy crawly habits to, like, the whole ecosystem thing.
Yeah, it's really made me think about centipedes in a whole new way. Like, I used to just want to squish them on sight.
I get it. They're not exactly cuddly.
Haha, right. But now I'm seeing them more as, well, creatures just trying to survive. Even if it means living in my basement.
It's all about perspective, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. So for all our listeners out there battling their own centipede situations, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, first off, you're not alone.
Yeah, misery loves company.
Right. Something like that. But seriously, the big thing is you can do something about it.
Right. We've got all those tools in our arsenal now.
Yep. Remember those basic needs: food, shelter, moisture.
So step one, get rid of any other bugs you've got.
Exactly. No more free lunch for the centipedes.
And then make your home less appealing.
Right. Dehumidifiers, fix those leaks, seal up those cracks and gaps.
Oh, and don't forget about cleaning. Declutter those closets and basements.
Yep, got to eliminate those hiding spots.
And then we've got our natural repellents.
Peppermint oil, Diatomaceous earth.
Those are game changers.
They really are.
And hey, if you're feeling adventurous, maybe try that coexistence thing we talked about. Could be a win-win.
It's worth considering.
Yeah, definitely. But if all else fails, you can always call on the pros.
Absolutely. They've got the experience to handle those tough situations.
All right, well, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about.
I hope so.
I know I've learned a ton. Came into this deep dive feeling kind of scared, but now I'm leaving feeling, well, empowered.
That's great to hear.
Like I can actually take control of the situation.
You absolutely can.
And who knows, maybe some of our listeners will even become like centipede advocates.
Maybe. Or at least they'll understand them a bit better.
Right. Well, if you want to learn even more, definitely check out that Nature Pest DIY Pest Control podcast. That episode on centipedes was awesome.
Yeah, it was packed with good stuff.
And hey, if you've got any centipede stories or tips of your own, share with us. We'd love to hear them.
Absolutely. We're all in this together.
All right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, happy pest controlling.
And may your homes be forever centipede free.
Or at least centipede managed. See ya.